Trump, TSMC to invest $300 billion in U.S. Juedui Energy Company, Limited. Securities fraud leads to raid, 7 detained. Cathay Pacific flight delays, all luggage lost on CX 565. Philippines, India hold first joint sale in South China Sea. Singapore property tycoon linked to jailed minister pleads guilty. South Korea removes propaganda speakers along North Korea border. Brazil's Supreme Court orders house arrest of former president. Plastics crisis is costing $1.5 trillion in global deaths and injuries.
Hello everyone, I'm Oceana. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Wednesday, August 6th, International Scuba Day, and here are top stories. And for today's Taiwan news, U.S. President Donald Trump told CNBC he may announce new tariffs on semiconductors and chips as early as next week. He also claimed TSMC will invest $300 billion to build the world's largest chip plant in Arizona. Taipei prosecutors raided sites linked to Juedui Energy Coal Ltd. For illegally issuing securities and raising over 100 million NTD without approval. The company promised investors returns of 25 to 42% and a 3-year buyback plan. 7 suspects, including the company head, were detained after investigation. Cathay Pacific flight CX 565 from Osaka to Taipei was delayed twice, with some passengers boarding at 6:30 p.m. Upon arrival, all checked luggage was missing. The airline said bags would be delivered to homes but gave no further explanation, causing passengers to call it a nightmare flight. And in global news, the Philippine and Indian navies have sailed together for the first time in the South China Sea, as President Ferdinand Marcos left Manila for New Delhi on a state visit. The Philippines has conducted maritime cooperative activities with foreign navies since late 2023 as part of its push to counter China's expansive claims in the waterway, including joint sails with treaty ally the United States as well as Japan, Australia, France, and Canada.
We share a common vision for free, open, inclusive, and rules-based Indo-Pacific region.
Philippine Military Chief Romeo Bronner said the idea for the 2-day joint sail came about when he met his counterpart in India in March. Bronner told reporters, "We did not experience any untoward incidents, but there are still those shadowing us, as we had already expected," without naming China. China's foreign ministry said territorial and maritime disputes should be resolved between the countries directly involved and that no third party should intervene. A 2016 ruling by an international arbitral tribunal found that Beijing's sweeping claims have no basis under international law, a decision China rejects.
Property tycoon Ong Beng-seng pleaded guilty to one charge of obstructing justice on Monday in a landmark corruption case that led to the jailing of former Transport Minister S. Iswaran last year. However, both the prosecution and defense agreed to grant Ong judicial mercy given his chronic illness and argued for him to be fined in lieu of imprisonment. He will be sentenced on August 15th. A second charge of abetting an offense was also taken into consideration.
Judicial mercy gives courts the authority to impose a more lenient sentence in exceptional mitigating circumstances, such as a terminal illness or when imprisonment could pose a high risk of endangering a life. The defense submitted that Ong suffers from multiple myeloma, an incurable cancer that affects his blood plasma cells and renders him immunocompromised. The case has been the subject of major intrigue in Singapore, a wealthy financial hub that offers ministers salaries of more than 1 million Singapore dollars to deter graft and prides itself on its reputation for clean governance. Ong had informed Iswaran that his associates had been questioned and that a private flight manifest with Iswaran's name on it, for a flight from Singapore to Doha, had been seized by the corruption watchdog during investigations.
South Korea's military said it had begun removing loudspeakers along its border with rival North Korea in a move aimed at reducing tensions. The speakers had previously been used to blast anti-North Korean propaganda across the border, but the South's new liberal government halted the broadcasts in June as a conciliatory gesture. It aims to rebuild trust and revive dialogue with Pyongyang, which has largely cut off cooperation with the South in recent years.
South Korea's defense ministry said the physical removal of the loudspeakers from the border was another practical measure aimed at easing tensions between the war-divided Koreas and that it does not affect the South's military readiness. They did not share specific details on how the removed loudspeakers will be stored or whether they could be quickly redeployed to the border if tensions flare again between the Koreas. There were no discussions between the two militaries ahead of the South's decision to remove the speakers. North Korea, which is extremely sensitive to any outside criticism of its authoritarian leadership, and Kim Jong-un did not immediately comment on the South Korean step.
Brazil's Supreme Court on Monday ordered the house arrest of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is on trial for allegedly masterminding a coup plot to remain in office despite his defeat in the 2022 election. Justice Alexander de Moraes, who oversees the case against Bolsonaro before the top court, said in his decision that the 70-year-old former president had violated precautionary measures imposed on him by posting content on the social media channels of his three lawmaker sons.
The trial of the far-right leader is receiving renewed attention after U.S. President Donald Trump directly tied a 50% tariff on imported Brazilian goods to his allies' judicial situation. Trump has called the proceedings a witch hunt, triggering nationalist reactions from leaders of all branches of power in Brazil. Brazil's prosecutors accuse Bolsonaro of heading a criminal organization that plotted to overturn the election, including plans to kill Lula and Justice de Moraes after the far-right leader narrowly lost his re-election bid in 2022. Monday's order followed one from the top court last month that required Bolsonaro to wear an electronic ankle monitor and imposed a curfew on his activities while the proceedings are underway.
According to a new report by a leading medical journal, a global plastics crisis is costing governments and taxpayers $1.5 trillion annually as they try to cope with escalating injuries, disability, and deaths as the substance pollutes our lands, seas, and bodies. Based on a review of recent studies published by The Lancet, plastic production is on course to triple by 2060. Less than 10% of it is recycled, and around 8,000 megatons now pollute the planet.
That causes harm at every stage of its life cycle, from the extraction of fossil fuels and production to its use by humans and eventual disposal into the environment. It is the latest dire warning about the ubiquity and threat posed by plastic, which the journal called the defining material of our age. After decades of scientists warning about plastic being found in the oceans and rivers, microplastics are now being discovered inside humans, including in breast milk and brain tissue. The report was launched to coincide with the talks in Geneva, where 175 countries are trying to forge the world's first global plastics treaty. A group of countries, including China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia, have opposed the measures, instead lobbying for increased plastic recycling.
The answer for yesterday was B, abducted. After the celebrity was abducted, the police launched a nationwide search. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into today's news. Philippines and India hold first joint sail in South China Sea. Number 1, cooperative. 合作的,配合的. The team was very cooperative during the project. Number 2, untoward. 不适当的,意外的. There were some untoward incidents at the event last night. Number 3, intervene. 介入. 干预. The teacher had to intervene when the students started arguing. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section, and the correct answer will be announced tomorrow. International Scuba Day had its inaugural celebration in 2023 when a group of passionate divers worked together to promote and celebrate the important experience that comes from diving. In addition, the day is meant to unite divers from all over the world and promote the community of ocean lovers. The date of this event was chosen because the Falaise Le Pierre diving apparatus was unveiled in 1926. And that's all for today's FUNDAY News. Be sure to tune into FUNDAY News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join FUNDAY for free. I'm your host, Oceana, and I'll see you next time.